Wow, Sarah Sanders says this really well. Um, Listen up. It's on Fox News. Occasionally they get some good stuff out.
One of those people on a debate stage with Donald Trump. We've seen Donald Trump on a debate stage. He is like something nobody's ever seen before. What do you make of any of those people? Right now, it's Joe Biden who's in the lead, although David Axelrod said that he was low energy last night. What do you think of any of those candidates opposite Donald Trump come this summer?
First, I want to say that I'm sorry that you've had to be assigned to sit through all 7 of those debates, because it's hard to get through one, much less all 7. It's awful. And I can't imagine any of these candidates going up against Donald Trump. This is like the AA minor leagues going up the World Series champion. And I mean, it is no comparison. What I saw last night, I feel very good about the president's re-election in November, because one, it was hard to stay awake. 2, they're fighting over whether or not who has won what election over the last 30 years. Nobody cares. The only thing I learned from that is how long these people have been part of the problem and not part of the solution.
And they can do math
the fact
quickly.
that they've been doing this for 30 years and are still saying the same things and haven't gotten anything done, and nothing is better because of their service, I think is a great contrast for this president. And last night was another big win for Donald Trump.
Sarah.
So well said, Sarah. And what have they done in their years of service? Career politicians got their head stuck somewhere it shouldn't be, and they can't get their head out. And frankly, there's no one that compares to Donald Trump, the Democrat side. Not even close. Not even close. They're like in a different field of amateurs, political amateurs. All right, let's get on with things. It's Raj Martin from Billings, Montana. Well said. I'll leave you the source of this. Let's see if they got anything to add here before we leave. They go to the point here where the guy asks on the screen here on the right, why do you think the moderator backed off on his questions? These guys sound like they're from some other universe.
Why do you think they backed off the questions that made them so controversial?
I think because they realized how crazy all of these people sound. With every day they were getting rid of something and making sure, I mean, the idea of all of these plans, everything in America will now be free, yet I don't know how they're going to pay for any of these programs. I mean, literally everything you hear out of their mouth is it's free this, it's free that, and there's no plan to pay for it other than to take money out of everyone's pockets. I mean, Bernie Sanders has now admitted that he's going to raise taxes on the middle class. I mean, it is one thing after another that I think should terrify all Americans, the things that are coming out of Democrats' mouths. They have moved so far to the left that I don't know how people can honestly listen to the policies and the ideas that these individuals are pushing and say that's what we want America to look like.
Well, Sarah, Joe Biden is the front runner so far for the Democrats, and he was on stage last night talking about Iran. They were talking about didn't believe that the president was being honest about his reason for killing Soleimani, doesn't believe our intel community, and he also said that the Iran deal was working until President Trump got involved. Listen.
I was part of that deal to get the nuclear agreement with Iran, bringing together the rest of the world, including some of the folks who...
Yeah, and he should be charged for treason, along with Obama. $150 were spent on that deal. U.S. money sent over there. And they were using it and weaponizing that money. What a crock.
...aren't friendly to us, and it was working. It was working. It was being held tightly. There was no movement on the part of the Iranian government to get closer to a nuclear weapon.
That is crap. They blew up a uranium enrichment plant, the military did. So they were getting closer. Don't give me that, Joe. This guy has no reality.
And look what's happened. He went ahead, and it was predictable from the day he pulled out of that agreement.
Sarah?
Joe Biden couldn't be more wrong on this front. The Iran deal was always destined to fail because it was based on appeasement, something we know Iran will never respect and never respond to. In fact, the only thing it did was embolden Iran to further oppress their people, to continue spreading terror across the Middle East, and they never dismantled their nuclear program. The idea that the Iran deal is working is a complete farce and shows why Joe Biden does not need to be back in control of making any foreign policy decisions. I think last night we saw it play out from each individual how wrong they've been. The idea that taking out one of the world's most dangerous terrorists doesn't make America safer, doesn't make the world safer, is just naive. And I think that we saw that from each of them last night. And you mentioned that Joe Biden's one of the front runners. I thought it was interesting that Warren and Sanders continue to attack each other, but they're not going after the front runner. I don't know if anyone's told them, but there's no prize for second place when running for president. So they may want to look at the front runner instead of attacking each other. It was interesting to see that play out last night.
Well, now, Sarah, you're critical of the debate stage last night. You're a Republican. However, when you look at some Democrats who are, clear-eyed about the chances of the Democrats, including David Plouffe, who was an advisor to President Obama, and Van Jones as well. Some of the analysts last night, and we're going to play a soundbite montage on CNN and MSNBC, they watched the debate. They didn't see anything that can win. Watch this.
I will say this, as someone who would like to see Donald Trump defeated, I want this race to get tougher.
How is this party going to beat Donald Trump, in your view?
Well, it's going to be really hard. One of the things that I have a great fear of is I think people see his approval ratings and they assume that he's going to be easy to beat. He's not.
I want to say that tonight for me was dispiriting. Democrats got to do better than what we saw tonight. There was nothing I saw tonight that would be able to take Donald Trump out, and I want to see a Democrat in the White House as soon as possible. There was nothing tonight that, if you're looking at this thing, you say any of these people are prepared for what Donald Trump is going to do to us, and to see further division tonight is very dispiriting.
And Sarah, this is a stage where Democrats would normally be optimistic about the future, but they don't sound so optimistic.
I think it was hard to watch last night and be optimistic. I mean, it was hard to watch last night and stay awake, frankly. And I think that even the most staunch Democrats realize how weak their field is and how strong Donald Trump is. And it's not just because their field is weak, but it's because the economy is booming. You're watching the president in the process of two major historic trade deals just this week alone with USMCA and signing the phase 1 of China trade deal later today. I mean, big things are happening under this president, and it is going
to... Amen. Big things are happening underneath this president. Yeah, good saying by that. I'm going to close it there. The Democrats are pathetic. Pathetic. They can do a lot. They should demand a lot more of their party than that. If they can't, they need to create a new party and get somewhere.